The dusty road to Pompeii stretches endlessly ahead as Marcus Trebatius guides his heavily laden cart toward what should be the most profitable trading journey of his career. But today, his attention is focused entirely on the most infuriating problem he has ever encountered in 15 years of commercial travel. You find yourself watching a successful merchant whose 36 years have been devoted to building a trading empire that spans the Mediterranean. His weathered hands and calculating blue eyes testament to countless negotiations that have made him wealthy enough to own one of Rome's finest villas. But for the past hour, his faithful donkey, Asinus, has been displaying behavior so stubborn and inexplicable that it threatens to destroy the most important business deal of Marcus's lifetime. And today, he's about to discover that his animal's obstinate refusal to enter the prosperous city ahead may be the only thing standing between his family and a death more horrible than anything his merchant's imagination could conceive. The morning that began with such promise now teeters on the edge of disaster as Marcus struggles to understand why Asinus, the most reliable and intelligent animal he has ever owned, has suddenly developed what appears to be an irrational fear of approaching Pompeii's gates. For 7 years, this gray donkey has been his constant companion on trading expeditions across the empire, carrying valuable goods through territories where bandits and wild animals pose constant threats to merchant caravans traveling the roads that connect Rome's vast commercial network. Asinus isn't just any pack animal. He possesses intelligence that consistently amazes everyone who interacts with him, along with instincts that have saved Marcus from dangerous situations more times than the merchant cares to remember. The donkey can detect unstable bridges before they collapse, sense approaching storms hours before they arrive, and identify contaminated water sources that would sicken or kill the humans who depend on his superior senses for survival in hostile environments. What makes today's behavior so maddening is its complete departure from Asinus's normal character. This is an animal who has never shown fear of cities, crowds, or any of the normal hazards that terrify lesser beasts. He has walked calmly through Rome's busiest markets, navigated narrow mountain passes without hesitation, and maintained his composure during thunderstorms that sent horses fleeing in panic. But as they approach Pompeii's impressive walls, Asinus stops dead in his tracks and refuses to take another step forward despite increasingly urgent commands from his frustrated master. The donkey's ears flatten against his head while his entire body trembles with an agitation that Marcus has never witnessed in all their years of partnership.
The scene at Pompeii's main gate would be comical under different circumstances. A successful Roman merchant arguing with a donkey, while other travelers begin to gather around them with mixtures of amusement and curiosity about what could cause such a public spectacle. Marcus pulls on Asinus's lead rope with growing desperation as he realizes that his carefully planned schedule is disintegrating before his eyes, threatening to destroy negotiations that represent months of preparation and the potential for profits that could secure his family's future for generations. "Come on, you stubborn beast!" Marcus shouts with the kind of public embarrassment that no self-respecting merchant should have to endure. Pompeii has the best markets in Campania, and I have customers waiting for the Egyptian silk and Spanish silver that you're carrying. We can't turn back now just because you've developed some mysterious aversion to perfectly normal city gates." But Asinus will not be moved by threats, bribes, or physical force. The donkey backs away from the city entrance with determination that suggests genuine terror rather than simple animal stubbornness. His nostrils flare as he snorts and paws the ground, clearly trying to communicate something urgent to his master in the only language available to him. Gaius Flavius, the gate guard, whose 20-year career has shown him every possible variation of human and animal behavior, approaches with the concerned expression of someone who has learned to pay attention when animals display unusual reactions to familiar environments. "Merchant, I've seen thousands of pack animals pass through these gates, but I've never witnessed behavior quite like this. Your donkey seems genuinely frightened of something specific rather than just being difficult." The observation forces Marcus to reconsider his assumptions about Asinus's motivation, though he still can't imagine what could cause such extreme reactions to a city they've visited successfully dozens of times over the years. Pompeii appears exactly as it always has, prosperous, bustling with commerce, and offering the kind of profitable opportunities that have made it a regular destination for ambitious traders throughout the region.
The breakthrough comes when Livia, an elderly woman whose reputation as a seer has made her sought after by wealthy Romans seeking guidance about business and political decisions, approaches the growing crowd with the confident stride of someone who understands situations that confuse others. Her weathered face bears the kind of wisdom that comes from decades of observing patterns that most people never notice, while her eyes hold intelligence that has earned respect from clients who initially sought her services with skepticism. "Your animal senses something that human perception cannot detect," she tells Marcus with the authority of someone whose predictions have proven accurate often enough to establish credibility among practical people who normally dismiss supernatural claims. Donkeys possess instincts that evolution designed for survival in environments where overlooking danger means death. When they refuse to enter territory that appears safe to human eyes, wise men pay attention rather than forcing compliance through ignorance. The explanation resonates with Marcus's own observations about Asinus's behavior during their years of partnership. The donkey has consistently demonstrated abilities that transcend normal animal capabilities, detecting threats and opportunities that human senses miss entirely. His warnings about unstable terrain, approaching weather, and contaminated resources have proven accurate with reliability that suggests genuine prescience rather than lucky guesses. What kind of danger could he be detecting that we can't see or smell ourselves? Asks Marcus, though part of him dreads whatever answer might explain his animal's unprecedented terror. Pompeii looks exactly as it has during every previous visit, peaceful, prosperous, and welcoming to merchants with quality goods to trade. Livia's response chills Marcus to the bone with implications that challenge everything he thought he understood about safety, business planning, and the supposed predictability of familiar territories. Some dangers cannot be detected through normal human senses until they manifest in ways that make detection irrelevant because death arrives too quickly for escape or preparation. Your donkey may be saving your life,
by refusing to enter a city that appears safe but harbors threats that will soon transform apparent prosperity into genuine catastrophe.
The investigation that follows reveals disturbing details that begin to explain Asinus's behavior, while creating new anxieties about the nature of the threat that has triggered such extreme reactions. Marcus speaks with other travelers who have noticed unusual phenomena around Pompeii: springs that suddenly stopped flowing, birds that have abandoned their normal nesting areas, and domestic animals throughout the region that have been displaying agitation similar to what Asinus is demonstrating. The pattern that emerges suggests environmental changes that most humans haven't noticed, but which animals with superior sensory capabilities are detecting and interpreting as warnings about imminent danger. Wells that have provided fresh water for generations have begun producing sulfurous liquid that tastes foul and smells worse, while underground tremors too subtle for human perception have been disturbing creatures whose survival depends on detecting such warnings. But most disturbing are reports from travelers who passed through Pompeii just days earlier and described increasing numbers of residents suffering from mysterious illnesses that physicians cannot diagnose or treat effectively. The symptoms, sudden fevers, difficulty breathing, and disorientation that leads to collapse, suggest exposure to something in the environment that affects humans gradually, but animals immediately. The city's physicians are baffled, reports a Greek trader who barely escaped Pompeii before his own health began deteriorating. They speak of bad air and cursed ground, but no one understands what's causing people to sicken so quickly. Some neighborhoods have been abandoned entirely as families flee to the countryside, hoping that distance from the city will restore their health. Marcus realizes with growing horror that Asinus has been trying to protect him from walking into what may be a death trap disguised as a normal commercial destination. The donkey's refusal to enter the city represents not stubbornness, but life-saving intelligence that detected dangers before they became obvious to human observation.
The confirmation of Asinus's warning comes when a messenger arrives from Pompeii with news that transforms Marcus's frustration into profound gratitude for his animal's mysterious prescience. The city that appeared so normal and prosperous from a distance has been struck by a plague so sudden and devastating that thousands of residents have died within days of the first symptoms appearing, while others flee in panic toward any destination that might offer sanctuary from the invisible death stalking Pompeii's streets. The sickness spreads faster than fire, the messenger reports, with the haunted expression of someone who has witnessed catastrophe beyond normal human experience. Entire families die within hours of each other, and no treatment provides relief from suffering that seems designed by the gods to punish human arrogance. The city that welcomed merchants yesterday forbids entry to anyone today, though few would dare approach even if invited. The revelation that Asinus detected and warned against a plague that human authorities couldn't identify until it began killing citizens in massive numbers validates everything Marcus has observed about his animal's superior instincts during their years of partnership.
The donkey's refusal to enter Pompeii represents not animal irrationality, but genuine prophecy that saved his master's life through stubborn resistance to human plans that would have led directly to death. But the news also brings terrifying personal implications as Marcus realizes that his wife Claudia and their 2 children are currently visiting her sister's family in Pompeii, expecting him to join them for what was supposed to be a profitable business trip combined with a pleasant family reunion. His trading mission has suddenly transformed into a rescue operation where success means the difference between saving his loved ones and watching them die from a plague that strikes without warning and kills without mercy.
The desperate mission to rescue his family from a plague-ravaged city represents the greatest challenge Marcus has ever faced. Combining all the commercial risk assessment skills he has developed over decades of trading with the primal desperation of a father and husband who will sacrifice everything to save the people he loves most. The irony isn't lost on him that Asinus, the animal whose stubborn behavior initially frustrated his business plans, may now be the only reason he has any chance of entering Pompeii and emerging alive with his wife and children. Working with Livia and drawing on her knowledge of traditional remedies that might provide some protection against the mysterious plague, Marcus prepares for a journey into the heart of catastrophe, with only his donkey's superior instincts as guidance through dangers that have already claimed thousands of lives in the space of just a few days. The approach to Pompeii reveals a city transformed by invisible death into something resembling the underworld that poets describe in their darkest verses. Smoke rises from funeral pyres that burn constantly as overwhelmed survivors attempt to dispose of bodies faster than the plague can create them, while the streets that once bustled with commerce now echo with the cries of the dying and the prayers of those who hope divine intervention might spare them from suffering they cannot understand or prevent. But Asinus continues to demonstrate the remarkable intelligence that has characterized their partnership, leading Marcus along routes that seem to minimize exposure to whatever environmental factors are spreading the disease. The donkey avoids certain neighborhoods entirely while choosing paths that take them through areas where the death toll appears lower, suggesting that he can detect variations in the plague's intensity with accuracy that no human physician has achieved. The few healthy residents they encounter appear more like ghosts than living people, their faces masked with cloth, soaked in wine or herbs, while they move with the careful deliberation of individuals who understand that every breath might carry the seeds of their own destruction. Most avoid contact with strangers entirely, but those willing to provide directions speak of entire districts where no one remains alive, and of families who barricaded themselves in their homes only to die together behind doors that survivors are afraid to open. "Your sister's house is in the Nucerian district," reports a Greek physician whose own flight from the city has been delayed by attempts to treat patients that no medicine can help. The plague struck there early, and few buildings show signs of continued habitation. If your family remains alive, they have either fled already or—" He cannot finish the sentence, but his expression completes the thought with implications that Marcus refuses to accept. The psychological strain of riding through streets where death has become the dominant presence tests Marcus's ability to maintain the focus necessary for successful rescue operations. But Asinus's calm confidence provides emotional anchor that keeps panic from overwhelming rational decision-making. The donkey's behavior suggests that while the danger is real and immediate, Survival remains possible for those who follow proper precautions and trust superior instincts.
The discovery of Claudia and their children barricaded inside her sister's villa brings relief so intense that Marcus nearly weeps with joy. But their condition makes clear that rescue must happen immediately if it's going to succeed at all. All 4 family members show early symptoms of the plague: slight fevers, difficulty breathing, and the disorientation that physicians have identified as harbingers of the rapid deterioration that follows within hours of initial infection. "Marcus, thank the gods you've come!" Claudia gasps through the cloth she holds over her nose and mouth. "We've been afraid to leave the house since people began dying in the streets, but we can feel the sickness growing stronger inside us. Whatever evil has cursed this city, it seems to seep through walls and doors as easily as it spreads through open air." The reunion that should bring joy instead carries urgency that transforms every moment into a race against time and invisible death. Marcus realizes that his family's survival depends not just on leaving Pompeii, but on getting them far enough away from whatever is causing the plague that they can recover from their early exposure before it progresses to the fatal stages that have claimed so many others. But Asinus proves once again that animal instincts can provide guidance that human knowledge cannot match. The donkey approaches each family member and seems to evaluate their condition through senses that detect variations in the plague's progression, spending extra time near Marcus's youngest daughter, whose symptoms appear most advanced, while showing less concern for the others, whose infections seem less severe. "The animal knows something about this sickness that we don't," observes Helena, Claudia's sister, whose medical knowledge gained through years of caring for gladiator injuries has taught her to recognize when normal treatments prove inadequate. "He's acting like a physician examining patients, but he can detect things that human examination misses entirely." The plan that emerges combines Marcus's business experience with Asinus's superior instincts to create an escape strategy that maximizes their chances of survival while minimizing exposure to whatever environmental factors are spreading the disease. Rather than fleeing blindly from the city, they will follow routes that the donkey selects based on his ability to detect variations in air quality, water safety, and other factors that affect plague transmission.
The escape from Pompeii becomes a masterpiece of coordination between human planning and animal instinct, as Asinus leads the family through a maze of streets and alleys that avoid the worst concentrations of plague, while maintaining steady progress toward gates that represent their only hope of reaching clean air and uncontaminated water before their symptoms progress beyond recovery. The donkey's route selection proves remarkably sophisticated, taking them through neighborhoods where the death toll appears lower, while avoiding areas where the smell of death mingles with sulfurous odors that seem to accompany the plague's heaviest concentrations. His ability to detect safe paths through contaminated territory provides advantages that no human knowledge could duplicate. transforming what should be desperate flight into methodical withdrawal guided by superior intelligence. But their progress is complicated by encounters with other survivors attempting their own escapes, some of whom show advanced plague symptoms that make them dangerous to approach, while others appear healthy but may be carrying infections that haven't yet manifested visible symptoms. Marcus must balance compassion for fellow victims with responsibility for his family's safety, making decisions that test his moral principles against survival imperatives. The most dangerous moment comes when they encounter Brutus Maximus, a rival merchant whose jealousy of Marcus's success has festered for years into genuine hatred that even plague and mutual danger cannot overcome. Despite his own obvious illness, Brutus attempts to block their escape route while demanding that Marcus share whatever protection has kept his family relatively healthy compared to other plague victims.
"You've found some cure that you're keeping for yourself," Brutus accuses with the paranoid desperation of someone whose mind has been affected by disease and approaching death. "Share your secret, or I'll ensure that none of you leave this cursed city alive."
The confrontation that follows demonstrates both the depths to which plague and fear can drive human behavior and the remarkable protective instincts that Asinus has developed toward the family he has served faithfully for so many years. When Brutus attempts to seize the donkey's lead rope while threatening Marcus with a knife, the normally peaceful animal responds with fury that surprises everyone present with its intensity and effectiveness. Asinus's attack on their tormentor proves swift and decisive, using his hooves and teeth to incapacitate someone whose plague-weakened condition makes him vulnerable to determined resistance from an animal whose superior health and protective motivation combine to create overwhelming tactical advantage. The encounter ends with Brutus fleeing into the plague-ravaged streets, while the family continues their escape under their faithful guardian's protection. But more importantly, the incident reveals how completely Asinus has appointed himself as protector of the entire family, rather than just Marcus alone. His willingness to fight for their safety demonstrates emotional bonds that transcend simple working relationships, indicating intelligence and loyalty that approach human levels of complexity and commitment. "That animal loves us as much as we love each other," Claudia observes with wonder as they continue their flight from the dying city. "He's not just carrying our possessions, he's guarding our lives with dedication that shames many humans who claim friendship but abandon others when danger threatens." The final obstacle to their escape comes at the city gates, where panicked officials are attempting to prevent anyone from leaving in misguided efforts to contain the plague's spread. But Asinus once again demonstrates the problem-solving abilities that have made him invaluable during their years of partnership, finding alternate routes through damaged sections of the city wall that allow them to bypass checkpoints while avoiding detection by guards, whose fear of contamination makes them shoot first and investigate later. The recovery that follows their escape from plague-ravaged Pompeii unfolds in a rural villa that Marcus purchases with emergency funds, far enough from contaminated areas to provide clean air and water, while close enough to major roads to maintain some connection with the commercial networks that represent their livelihood. The gradual improvement in his family's health validates Asinus's early detection of the plague threat, while demonstrating that prompt evacuation can overcome even advanced exposure to whatever environmental factors caused the catastrophe.
But more than physical recovery, their experience transforms the family's understanding of the intelligence and emotional capacity that domestic animals can possess when circumstances reveal capabilities that normal routine never exercises. Asinus receives treatment normally reserved for human heroes: special food, comfortable quarters, and most importantly, the kind of respect and affection that acknowledges his role in saving their lives through stubborn resistance to plans that would have led them directly into death. The letters that arrive from other merchants and travelers confirm that Asinus's behavior represented genuine prophecy rather than animal irrationality. Pompeii's transformation from prosperous city to plague-ravaged wasteland happened so quickly that most residents had no opportunity to escape, making the donkey's early warning the difference between survival and joining the thousands who died without understanding what killed them. Your animal's instincts saved not just your life, but your entire family's future, writes Gaius Maximus, a fellow merchant whose own trading expedition to Pompeii would have coincided with the plague's outbreak if not for reports about Asinus's behavior that convinced him to postpone his journey. His refusal to enter what appeared to be a safe and profitable destination has inspired other traders to pay closer attention to their animals' reactions to familiar territories. The story of Asinus and the plague that he detected before human authorities recognized its existence becomes part of commercial folklore throughout the empire, encouraging merchants to develop deeper relationships with their animal partners while paying attention to warnings that superior instincts might provide about dangers that human perception cannot detect until too late for effective response. Marcus's business actually prospers as word spreads about his donkey's remarkable prescience, attracting clients who want to employ traders whose animal partners provide early warning systems for dangers that threaten commercial ventures. The partnership between merchant and donkey becomes a valuable competitive advantage that generates profits far exceeding what their interrupted Pompeii expedition might have produced. As you watch Marcus and his family in their new villa, with Asinus contentedly grazing in pastures that belong to all of them, you understand that you've witnessed something extraordinary. This isn't just a story about animal intelligence or commercial success. It's a demonstration of how trust in relationships that transcend species boundaries can provide survival advantages that pure human reasoning cannot match, and how wisdom sometimes comes from learning to listen when trusted partners try to warn us about dangers we haven't yet learned to recognize ourselves.